Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Al-Baqarah, and we are on ayah number 38. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, قُلْ نَحْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ مِنِّي هُدًى فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. We said, get down all of you from here. And whenever there comes to you from me guidance, then whoever follows my guidance, then there shall be no fear on them, nor shall they grieve. Okay, so some keywords. Ihbitu, we discussed this word. It means to descend. So they are descending or getting down from Jannah, which is a high place, to planet Earth, which is a lowly place. Jami'a, all of you. So who is being referred to here? Adam, his wife, whose name is Hawa, and Iblis, the one who misguided them into eating from the forbidden tree. Hudan is a word used that means guidance, and whoever follows tabi'ah, that is to follow the guidance of Allah Jalla wa Ala, there will be no khawf, which means fear. This means fear in the future, as in on Yawm al-Qiyamah. They will not fear anything because they will be protected, as they had the iman and good deeds to protect them. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, from huzn, meaning grief or sadness. They will not be saddened, nor will they grieve. What does this refer to? It refers to the fact that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, these people who are believers had to sacrifice much in terms of worldly luxury, whereas the kuffar all around them were indulging in the worldly luxury and the good stuff of life. Yet these mu'minun on Yawm al-Qiyamah will not grieve about the pleasures which they could not attain in this world. He says, فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُمْ. Fa, meaning it's a continuation from the last sentence. We might translate it to so if guidance comes to you. Imma, with the mim shadda, is actually in ma. So the word in means if, and it denotes some doubt. It may happen, it may not happen, if it happens. The ma is for emphasis. It in fact removes the doubt. So it's a case of when, not if. And he then makes it more emphatic with the ya'tiyannakum. The noon shadda indicates it will definitely come, or it will surely come. And the reason why he includes these tawqidat, these emphases, is to remove any doubt that guidance from me will indeed come. Okay, so let's reflect on this ayah. We may take from the benefits, if Adam alayhi salam and his wife and also Iblis are being thrown down, then this would have to mean that Jannah is a highly place and this dunya, this world, is a lowly place, not worth striving for, but rather just taking from it what will benefit you and leave alone the rest. But the big lesson to come from this ayah is that guidance is from Allah Jalla wa Ala alone, and this is the guidance which, if you follow it, you will not have any fear, nor will you grieve. We have explained what those words mean. So guidance is not from other sources like the UN Charter of Human Rights and other than that, which people are just so infatuated with. If other sources of guidance, be it from philosophy or politics or wherever else, if they agree with the text of the deen, or at least do not contradict the text of the deen, and there is goodness in them, then yes, such guidance may be followed. Because what is good with the people is also good with Allah Jalla wa Ala, as long as it does not contradict the text of the Sharia. And we may also take, for that matter, that any act of ibadah is not permissible unless you find warrant from the text. So for acts of ibadah we are extremely strict. Now let us look at ayah number 39. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. And those who disbelieve and belie our ayat, our signs, they are the dwellers of the fire, in there forever. Okay, so some key words. He uses the word kafaru and kadhabu. What's the difference between them? Because they are actually quite similar. So kafaru would be in terms of their actions. Actions of kufr, such as not praying and performing the acts of ibadah, committing sins, committing shirk, and just general ingratitude to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Kadhabu from takdhib is to belie something. So this would mean belying the ayat of Allah Jalla wa Ala and the messengership of the Prophet. So this is more to do with the heart as opposed to the limbs. He says ayatina, ayat meaning signs. There are two types of signs, kawniya and shar'iyya. Kawniya are the universal signs, like you see all around you, the sun, the moon, the stars, the animals, nature, celestial bodies, just literally everything. It's a sign of its creator. And then we have the ayat shar'iyya. These are the ayat of the Quran. Again, a sign that it comes from a creator, because no man can reproduce the like thereof. So when we talk about ayat in the Quran or anywhere else, then these are the two ways we understand this word ayah. And we learn of the consequence of making kufr and takdhib is that they are the dwellers of the fire, abiding therein forever, so that they will not leave the fire. This is the way we understand it, and this is the belief which is in accordance with the evidence that the kuffar will not leave the fire. And there are even more clear-cut ayat in the Quran which show us this, which use the word abadan. Abad means without end. So they will dwell therein, abadan, without end. Notice he uses the word ashab from sahib. This is your companion, the one who sticks to you all the time. So he says these are the ashab of the fire. They will stick with the fire all the time, not leaving the fire. So it's a much more emphatic word, much more emphatic than saying that these people merely enter the fire. There is another opinion about kafaru and kadhabu. It says that kafaru is with the heart and kadhabu is with the tongue. Otherwise, both kufr and takdhib are practically the same thing if mentioned in isolation, and Allah knows best. Okay, let's reflect on this ayah and see what benefits we may pick up. We notice in this ayah that Allah Jalla wa Ala keeps a healthy balance. In the previous ayah, He spoke about those people who follow the guidance, they will neither fear nor grieve, and now He speaks about the kuffar, the complete opposite. So He maintains a healthy balance, and this happens throughout the Quran. Jannah and Jahannam are mentioned about the same. Believers and disbelievers are mentioned about the same. There is threat in the Quran, but there is also glad tidings, about the same. The Quran maintains a healthy balance, as this ayah illustrates. We find from this ayah the sorry state that the kuffar will be in. And when we read ayat like these and reflect on it, it should encourage us and give us the impetus to give da'wah to the lost and damned. We also learn there is something called the fire. And we need to make mention of this because nothing is obvious when it comes to Aqidah. Certainly the details of Aqidah anyway. So we cannot take for granted there is a Jannah or Jahannam. We need text for it, such as this. Okay, let's look at ayah number 40. يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوف بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. O children of Israel, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you, and fulfill your obligations to my covenant with you, so that I fulfill my obligation to your covenant with me, and fear none but me. Okay, let's pick up some keywords. Ya is the harf al-nida when you call to somebody. Bani meaning children. Israel. Abdullah ibn Abbas said that Israel means Abdullah, servant of Allah, because Isr means servant and Il is God or Allah, so servant of God or Abdullah. So here the Banu Israel refers to the followers of Musa alayhi salam, who were the Yahud, who were in and around Al-Madinah. We have a narration in a book of Abu Dawud at-Tayalisi that a group of Yahud came to the Prophet, and the Prophet said to them, "Do you know that Israel is Ya'qub?" The Yahud replied, "Yes, by Allah." And the Prophet then said, "Allahumma ashhad, O Allah be a witness." So when we talk about Israel, we are talking about Ya'qub alayhi salam, who is the son of Ishaq alayhi salam, who in turn is the son of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Of course, the son of Ya'qub alayhi salam famously is Yusuf alayhi salam amongst his other sons, after whom a whole surah is named, chapter number 12. Remember my favors? Okay, so here's the issue. We know what ni'mah means, favors or blessings, but what does it actually refer to? What favors? The most difficult part of understanding the Quran is to know what the words refer to, not merely what they mean. So when we look in the tafsir, Mujahid, the student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, one of the most famous of the Mufassirin, says that this refers to things like making the water gush from the stones, sending down manna wa salwa, we'll talk about those later, and saving them from Fir'aun and such matters like these. Abu Aliya, another famous Mufassir, says that the favor of Allah mentioned is sending the prophets to Bani Israel, sending them scriptures for guidance. Ibn Kathir says that this ayah is similar to ayah number 20 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, where Allah Jalla wa Ala says that Musa alayhi salam said to his people, "Ya qawmi, udhkuru ni'matallahi alaykum, idh ja'ala fikum anbiya, wa ja'alakum mulukan wa ataakum ma lam yu'ti ahadan min al-alamin." O my people, remember the ni'mah of Allah when He made from amongst you prophets, and He made you kings, and He gave you what He did not give anyone else from the world. There is no doubt that Allah Jalla wa Ala chose Banu Israel with many favors which He did not choose for other nations. And this is Allah's divine prerogative. He may choose whomsoever He wills, and there is none to question Him. He says, "Fulfill my covenant." Again, we know ahad is a covenant, but what does it refer to? It refers to the covenant that Banu Israel will have iman in Allah and all of the messengers. Not just some of the messengers up to Musa alayhi salam, but also Isa and Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. This is the contract, not just to pick and choose the messengers. This is the exact point of this ayah. He's telling the Yahud, look, you need to be consistent and fulfill your contract. And then he says, I will fulfill my contract to you. Nobody can obligate Allah to do anything. Rather, it is Allah who obligates His own self. Notice the difference. And what Allah Jalla wa Ala obligates His own self to do in accordance with His wisdom and justice is that He will enter such people into Jannah. And me alone you should fear. Rahab is fear or dread, as Allah Jalla wa Ala is of course worthy of being feared. Much does Allah Jalla wa Ala talk about Banu Israel in the Quran. And this is the first part of the Quran in which Banu Israel are mentioned. Banu Israel have knowledge, so they have no excuse not to follow the Prophet. A practical benefit we take is that when Allah Jalla wa Ala bestows favors upon you, remember them. It will encourage you to act in a thankful manner. We learn that Allah Jalla wa Ala can bestow His favor to whomsoever He wills, and that is His divine prerogative. He gives to one person and deprives another, in accordance with His wisdom. And we ought not to complain, but rather be content with the decree of Allah. We learn that Allah Jalla wa Ala fulfills His end of the bargain only when we fulfill ours. So it is an obligation for us to fulfill our end. We can also take that it is obligatory to fulfill your vow. Now, how do we take this when the word vow is not even mentioned in the ayah? Well, when somebody makes a vow, he's in fact making a contract with Allah Jalla wa Ala. And as the ayah says, you must fulfill your contract. We learn that it is Allah alone that we need to fear or have a rahab of. Does this mean that if we fear something else, that this is shirk? Well, natural fear is of course allowed. Ibrahim alayhi salam felt natural fear when he found his guests not eating his food. Musa alayhi salam felt natural fear when the sticks of the magician turned into snakes. And these are great prophets and messengers. So they do have natural fear. That is not haram. The fear we are talking about with respects to Allah is the fear of ibadah. The fear which drives you to obeying Allah Jalla wa Ala and worshipping Him. So we worship Allah Jalla wa Ala out of fear, yes, but also out of love and out of hope. These three things. We do not hope in anyone else for reward in the hereafter. Wallahu a'lam.